Good morning, 3-4s, and welcome to our second lesson today on information reports or information text. Your learning intention for today is we're learning to write an opening statement, and to be successful in today's lesson, you can use my notes to create an opening statement, and you can turn your notes into complete sentences. Yesterday we started to look at the text called Dragon. Here are a few pages from the text. Let's have a closer look at some of the information that we read in the text called Dragons. More than a monster. You can imagine a dragon. Does it breathe fire? Maybe you picture a friendly dragon, or perhaps it looks like a snake. How you think of a dragon likely depends on your culture and the myths you have heard about monsters. Dragons in China. Dragons have been a part of Chinese culture for thousands of years. However, in their myths, dragons aren't monsters. They're very powerful, but they often bring life and good fortune. In fact, the Chinese long believed they were descendants of dragons. Other Asian dragons. Chinese dragons could grow or shrink or even disappear. In Vietnam, a myth says a dragon that kept the country safe created the islands of Ha Long Bay. According to a story from Borneo, a dragon lives on top of the country's Mount Kinabalu. So in today's lesson, we're going to look at how to make an opening statement. So the first thing we're doing is creating our own opening statement from the information text that we have just read, and then looking at how to extend our notes to add more information to our reports. You'll be doing this for your own information report using the non-fiction text you have chosen to write about. So I'm demonstrating today how to do an opening statement from the text Dragons, and looking at the notes that I wrote down and how I can extend upon those notes as an example for you to go off and do for your own text. So maybe you're doing an information report about dogs or cats or a planet or something of your interest. That is what you today will be doing your opening statement for, and adding your notes into the start of your information report. So Dragons today is just the example so you can see how to do your opening statement and extend upon your notes. So here is an example of an opening statement from the few pages that we just read about dragons. How you see a dragon depends largely on your culture. Dragons have been associated with many myths and legends for many years. These myths came from the Middle Ages that include dragons with wings and huge lizard features. So you can see this opening statement is just touching lightly, giving us an idea of what we are talking about today, and just a very brief outline about what we know so far about dragons from reading the text. So an opening statement is usually only about a paragraph long, that is purely just introducing what it is that you are talking about today. Now let's have a look at some of the notes that I've written down and how we can extend these notes into a sentence. So here are some notes that I wrote down from the text Dragons. Now that I have written my opening statement, let's have a look at now how I've stretched these notes into full sentences to add to my information report. Remember to add as much detail as possible from the text to support your notes. More than 3 or 4 words per sentence. So in the last lesson, you would have written down notes from your information report, you have put them into categories with subheadings, and now you are adding that information into your report under those subheadings. But how are you going to do that? What should your information look like? So the first note I wrote for dragons was dragons aren't monsters. Now in my information report, I wouldn't just write those 3 words, dragons are monsters. We want to elaborate on that sticky note, or that note, sorry, and add more information from that idea into your information report. So let's have a look at how I've extended my first note. So dragons aren't monsters. I've turned that into a longer sentence using the dragons text. Dragons have been a part of Chinese culture for many years. They are seen to bring life and good fortune. So you can see that from my note, dragons aren't monsters, I've extended it to write a little bit about why they aren't monsters. The second note, dragons live in lakes, oceans and rivers. I don't just want to add in that very short sentence under one subheading. I want to add more information about that note. So I might go back and use the text and see if I can elaborate on that note a little bit more. So I have put a little bit more detail about where they live. So I have written dragons that should have an N. Dragons are believed to live underwater during winter and then come out in spring when it rains. So instead of just saying dragons live in lakes, oceans and rivers, I've written a little bit more about why they are believed to live underwater and when they come out of the water. And the third note, dragons are associated with different myths in different parts of the world. Now that third note isn't too bad, but I could probably add a little bit more detail to that note when I add it into my information report. So let's have a look at how I could add more information to that note. In Japan, it was believed dragons could grow and shrink. In Vietnam, the myth says dragons kept a country safe. So I provided 2 different examples of how dragon myths are supported in Japan and Vietnam, how the myths change, how the perspectives of dragons change. So I've extended upon that idea that dragons are associated with different myths in different parts of the world and given 2 examples. Hopefully that gives everybody a clear idea of how to extend upon your notes when you are adding your information into your information report. Again, if you have any questions, please